Welcome to Skedlive for Tuesday, April 1st, 2014. I'm Jake English. Here's what's in the news today. The man who shot Peel police officer Mike Clarenbeck has been named. Charanjit Singh Basi was killed by Peel police after he shot Clarenbeck in the abdomen in a Brampton courthouse Friday morning. The Special Investigations Unit is probing the incident. Clarenbeck is recovering at Sunnybrook Hospital. Toronto City Council is expected to vote on Porter Airlines' bid to expand the runways at Billy Bishop Airport. If approved, Porter will be able to fly jets out of the island airport. Health officials in Halton and Hamilton have confirmed 3 cases of the measles. Officials say anyone who was at the Sky Zone Indoor Trampoline Park in Mississauga Saturday, March 22nd should check their vaccination records and get to their doctor immediately. Locations in Waterdown and Burlington are possible risk sites. For information, dial 311 or visit halton.ca. In international health news, one of the world's deadliest viruses has killed 70 people in Guinea. The Ebola virus started in the countryside of Guinea and could potentially spread throughout the borders of the Western African region. Liberia and Sierra Leone are taking precautionary measures by isolating and investigating any suspected cases. The virus can mimic symptoms similar to malaria and has a fatality rate of 90%. It's time to check in on what our Skedline reporters are working on today. One community organization is coming up with ways to improve street policing in Toronto. Skedline reporter Joyita Sengupta joined the Police Literacy Initiative on set for the documentary they are filming.
Police Literacy Initiative, an organization that brings community members and law enforcement together to better police relations, are putting together a documentary to present their findings. Zachariah Abdul told me a bit about what they've come up with over the last while.
So through our meetings for the past 6 months, we actually divided into groups and in order to make key policy recommendations going forward. So the 4 groups that we divided ourselves into were: 1, building trust between communities and police. Secondly, to address making the complaint process a lot more effective. Thirdly, dealing with disproportionate contact with police.
Dan Epstein has taken the responsibility of filming and conducting interviews for the documentary.
You know, it's been really nice to go all around the city and speak with, people who are on all sides of, of carding and racial profiling, and people who work from the police service, and people who, we got to go interview Jim Rankin at the Star, who's been working on this issue and doing incredible work for over a decade researching this issue. We got to speak with a number of different academics and researchers who've looked into this. And we've spoken with members of our own group who've done their own research and have talked about, recommendations that they've made.
Initiative founder Jamil Javani says the challenge is engaging people who are on both sides of the debate of police involvement.
And I think it's been important for us to remember that I really believe we do represent like most people's view on these issues, but those are not necessarily people who are going to show up to a community forum and talk about these issues. They're not necessarily people who are going to go to a press conference and have a lot to say, but they are people who recognize that the police are an integral part of how we do, how we run a democracy in our city and our country, and they know that police are important, but they also know that there's some changes that need to be made, and I think that's the view that we represent.
Police Literacy Initiative will be airing their documentary at their first Police Community Forum at City Hall on April 26th. This is Joyita Sengupta for Skedline.
Did you pull a prank on someone for April Fools? Skedline reporter Sarah Simbansky talked to students this morning to find out their own favorite tricks.
A big warm April Fools to everybody watching. We're checking out the best pranks at Humber. And what is your best April Fools prank?
That I have pulled? To be honest, I don't think I have ever pulled one on anybody because I'm kind of a nice person.
And then I've also done like the saran wrap on like toilets before and stuff like that too. So like April Fools used to be like a pretty big thing.
Alright, so I guess my best prank was I pretended it was my birthday and everyone was giving me presents and I said April Fools, but I still kept the presents though.
We're kind of like, oh my god, why? He's just like, oh, it's canceled, like you're gonna have no more final like test, this is our last class, write your test and go home.
While his mom wasn't looking, he put chocolate laxatives inside the brownie batter so that when it was finally cut, he gave it to his brothers, you can imagine what happened next. But the good news is he didn't actually let anyone else in the family eat the brownies except for his brothers only. So which is kind of weird that he was able to make that go through, but in the end, I mean, they were in the bathroom a lot, so I think that's probably the most creative one I've heard.
think that might be the best one we've heard today, too. Back to you guys.
The elevators in the L building of Humber Lakeshore's campus were out of order this morning, but it was no April Fool's joke. They remained out of order until 2 p.m. today. Now let's check in with Antonio Savoya on today's sports news.
Thanks. Big game for the Maple Leafs tonight as they take on the Calgary Flames at the ACC. The Buds, who sit 2 points out of the final playoff spot, are in the middle of a season-long 8-game losing streak. They are looking to make one last push for 8th tonight. The Blue Jays began their 2014 season in Tampa Bay yesterday, losing 9-2 in the process. Jays shortstop Jose Reyes left the game after the first inning with an injury and has now been placed on the DL. Drew Hutchison gets the start tonight as they play the second game of the opening series against the Rays. First pitched at 7:10. Patrick Patterson returned for the Raptors last night in South Beach. It was bittersweet though as LeBron James led the Heat with 32 points in a 93-83 win over the Raptors. Raptors now sit 10 games over 500 with a 42-32 record, which is third place and third in the East, 2 games ahead of division rivals Brooklyn. The Raptors host the Houston Rockets on Wednesday night at the ACC. To the expectations of many, Canadian basketball phenom Andrew Wiggins declared for the NBA draft yesterday during a press conference in Kansas. Wiggins is expected to go number 1 in this summer's draft. March Madness will continue on Saturday night with the Final Four. Florida State will be playing UConn, while Wisconsin will play against Kentucky. The final will be played on April 7th in Arlington, Texas at the AT&T Stadium. That's all for sports. I'm Antonio Savoya. Now back to the studio.
We now turn to Aurillac and Kube to find out more about today's weather and the 5-day forecast.
Thanks. Hopefully Mother Nature stays good to us with the nice weather outside. Right now it's cloudy but bright with a high of 8. Tomorrow will be partly cloudy with a high of 8 and a low of 1. Thursday's temperature will drop slightly to a high of 4 and there will be some rain on Friday with a low of 1. Saturday will be cloudy with a high of 3 and we'll have lots of sun on Sunday with a high of 6. This has been Aura with your 5-day forecast. Now back to the studio.
That's it for Skedlive, Tuesday, April 1st, 2014. From all of us here at skedline.com, thanks for watching.